Your solitude is not a sentence, it's preparation for greatness. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast ocean. The waves crash against the shore with relentless power, yet perfect rhythm. Each wave returns to the depths, gathering strength before it rises again. This is the natural order of things. Like that ocean, true power comes from within. From moments of solitude, reflection, and self-cultivation. Today we're going to explore a truth that society often tries to hide. The immense power and opportunity that exists for a man without a girlfriend. Not as a permanent state, but as a sacred time of preparation, a time that many squander, but that the truly exceptional use to forge themselves into something extraordinary. We live in a world obsessed with relationships, where having a partner is seen as a marker of success, of completion. Social media bombards us with images of couples suggesting that solitude equals failure. But what if I told you that history's most impactful men understood that periods of solitude are not punishment, but privilege? That your current state isn't a waiting room for life, but life itself. Rich with opportunity that vanishes the moment you surrender your independence? The strongest steel is forged in the hottest fires. The most powerful men are those who have mastered themselves before attempting to enter another's life. So lean in, because what I'm about to share might challenge everything you've been taught about what it means to be alone. This isn't about how to get a girlfriend. It's about how to become the kind of man who no longer needs one to feel complete. The ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This wisdom echoes through centuries because it contains a fundamental truth. You cannot truly connect with another until you have first connected with yourself. Consider the paradox of our time. Never have we been more connected, yet never have we felt more isolated. Men race to find partners before they've found themselves. They seek to be captains of relationships when they haven't yet learned to captain their own minds. They offer love before they understand what love truly is. Look at the greatest figures throughout history, from Marcus Aurelius to Nikola Tesla, from Isaac Newton to Buddha. These weren't men defined by their romantic conquests, but by their conquest of self. During periods of solitude, they didn't merely wait, they worked. They didn't merely exist, they evolved. Self-mastery begins with brutal honesty. What are your weaknesses, your fears, your compulsions? A man who has not faced these shadows carries them into every relationship, burdening not just himself, but anyone who dares to love him. The unmastered man uses relationships as escape. The self-mastered man offers relationships as a gift. When you stand alone, you have the rare privilege of confronting yourself without distraction. You can face your demons without involving innocent bystanders. You can rebuild your foundations without worrying about who might be hurt by the renovation. This is not selfishness. It is responsibility in its purest form. Discipline becomes your companion in solitude. Without someone else's schedule to accommodate, without the comfortable numbness of companionship to fall back on, you must create structure from within. Your word to yourself becomes sacred. Your promises to yourself become unbreakable. This is the forge where integrity is created, not in grand declarations to others, but in silent commitments to self. Self-mastery requires physical discipline. Your body is the vehicle through which you experience this world. It demands mental clarity, the ability to separate truth from comfortable fiction. It necessitates emotional intelligence, understanding your feelings without being ruled by them. All of these are more efficiently developed in solitude than in the complex dance of relationship. Remember, a relationship doesn't solve problems, it amplifies what already exists. A weak man becomes weaker in relationship. A strong man becomes stronger. Which will you be when your time of solitude ends? Freedom is not the absence of commitment, but the presence of opportunity. When you stand unattached, you possess something that most men squander: unlimited potential energy. The question is not whether you have freedom, it's what you will do with it. The Roman philosopher Seneca observed, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Nothing wastes a man's life faster than failing to recognize the opportunity in his freedom. Every hour you spend now unencumbered by the compromises of relationship, is an investment in the man you are becoming. This freedom allows you to take risks that attached men cannot. You can pursue the career that calls to your soul rather than the one that promises stability. You can travel to foreign lands not as a tourist but as an explorer. You can immerse yourself in study and craft and art without explaining your obsession to anyone. This is not selfishness. This is stewardship of your unique path. Consider the entrepreneurs who built empires during periods of solitude, the artists who created masterpieces in isolation, the philosophers who revolutionized thought while withdrawn from society. They understood that freedom is not just the absence of constraint, it is the presence of possibility. Your freedom gives you the ultimate luxury, the ability to say yes based solely on your values rather than on compromise. Most men never experience this. They move from parental authority to peer pressure to romantic accommodation without ever making truly independent choices. But the man who has learned to use his freedom has discovered life's greatest secret. Autonomy is the foundation of authentic connection. Use this freedom to experiment, to fail spectacularly and recover privately, to develop convictions that are truly yours, rather than convenient adaptations to another's expectations. This kind of authentic development cannot happen within the comfortable constraints of relationship. It requires the harsh but honest teacher of solitude. Remember that freedom without direction becomes mere indulgence. Channel this precious resource toward becoming a version of yourself that would be impossible to create under other circumstances. Your freedom isn't just an absence. It's your most valuable asset. In a world obsessed with external metrics of success, followers, likes, partners, possessions, there exists a more profound form of wealth that few men ever discover in her abundance. This is the wealth that cannot be taxed, stolen, or diminished by market fluctuations. It is the wealth that makes a man truly sovereign. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." This isn't motivational fluff. It's practical wisdom from one of history's most powerful men who understood that external circumstances, including relationships, are fleeting, while inner resources endure. What constitutes this inner wealth? Knowledge that cannot be taken from you, skills that generate value regardless of economic climate, emotional resilience that weathers life's inevitable storms, mental clarity that cuts through confusion and manipulation, spiritual depth that connects you to something larger than momentary pleasure or pain. During your time without a girlfriend, you have the rare opportunity to focus exclusively on building this inner treasury. While others spend their energy navigating the complex emotional terrain of relationships, you can invest that same energy in self-development. Read the books others don't have time for. Master the skills others can only dabble in. Develop the emotional intelligence that others must compromise. This inner wealth creates an ironic paradox. The less you need external validation, including romantic validation, the more naturally it comes to you. When you build genuine confidence, not the hollow bravado that masks insecurity, but the quiet certainty that comes from knowing your own value, you become magnetic in a way that needy men can never understand. Financial wealth allows options. Inner wealth creates freedom regardless of options. A man rich in internal resources can find contentment in a palace or a prison, in company or in solitude. He carries his kingdom within him. Use this period not to accumulate possessions, but to accumulate wisdom. Not to fill your calendar with distractions, but to fill your mind with insights. Not to surround yourself with people who validate your current self, but to become the kind of person who no longer needs that validation. The truly wealthy man is not he who has the most, but he who needs the least. Build this kind of wealth now, and no future relationship or lack thereof will determine your worth. Society has sold men a dangerous lie, that their value depends on external validation, particularly from women. This deception has created generations of men who outsource their self-worth to others, who live in constant anxiety about their attractiveness, their status, The Stoic philosopher Epictetus cut through this fallacy when he wrote, "Make it your study to not seek to be admired for external qualities, but for internal ones." This is not just philosophy, it's psychological freedom. External validation is a false god that demands ever-increasing sacrifices while delivering diminishing returns. Consider the man who bases his worth on female approval. If no woman approves, he feels worthless. If one woman approves, he fears losing her approval. If many women approve, he becomes addicted to collecting more approval. There is no path to peace in this paradigm, only varying degrees of anxiety. Your time without a girlfriend is an opportunity to break this cycle permanently, to investigate the source of your need for validation, to recognize that external opinions, whether positive or negative, are based on limited information filtered through the biases and wounds of others. They tell you more about the validator than about your true value. True confidence is not the belief that everyone will approve of you. It's the knowledge that you'll be fine whether they do or not. It's understanding that female validation, while pleasant, is neither necessary nor sufficient for a life of meaning. This independence from external validation doesn't make you cold or disconnected, quite the opposite. It allows you to form relationships based on mutual enhancement rather than mutual dependence. You can love not because you need to be loved back, but because you choose to offer love freely. Use this period to become the primary validator in your own life, to develop standards for yourself that exceed what others would require of you, to become your own harshest critic and most compassionate supporter. This internal congruence, this alignment between your values and your actions, creates an unshakable core that no external opinion can damage. Remember, the man who needs nothing attracts everything. Not because of some mystical law of attraction, but because independence is the rarest and most valuable quality in a world of dependency. The question, what is my purpose, haunts many men, especially during periods of solitude. Without the distraction of relationship, this existential query comes into sharp focus. This is not a burden, it's an opportunity that partnered men rarely get to explore fully. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche observed, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Purpose is not just the psychological comfort. It's the organizing principle around which a meaningful life is built. It's the difference between existing and living, between passing time and investing it. Your time without a girlfriend provides a unique clarity to discover this purpose. Without the necessary compromises of relationship, you can pursue your calling with single-minded focus. You can take risks that would be irresponsible if others depended on you. You can experiment with paths that might initially lead nowhere. Purpose rarely announces itself with trumpets. It emerges from the intersection of your gifts, your passions, and the world's needs. Discovering it requires both action and reflection, trying new things and then honestly assessing your response to them. This process of discovery is most efficient when you're not simultaneously navigating the complex emotional terrain of relationship. Purpose-driven man develops a magnetic gravity. People, not just potential partners, are drawn to him because purpose creates the kind of authenticity that cannot be faked. While purposeless men try to attract others through peacocking, posturing, and people-pleasing, the purpose-driven man attracts through the sheer force of his directed energy. Your purpose exists independent of your relationship status. It was there before any girlfriend and it will remain after. Discovering and committing to it now means that any future relationship will enhance your life's direction rather than define it. Remember, the strongest relationships are not two people looking at each other, but two people looking in the same direction. By clarifying your direction now, you make yourself ready for a partner who truly complements your journey rather than complicates it. There exists a vast difference between wanting a relationship and being ready for one. Most men focus on the former while neglecting the latter. Your time without a girlfriend is not a waiting period. It's training ground for the kind of relationship that most men dream of, but few experience. Seneca noted, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." In relationships, what looks like luck to others is usually the result of disciplined preparation. The man who has used his solitude wisely doesn't need to hunt for connection. Meaningful connection finds him because he has become the kind of person who can sustain it. This preparation involves developing emotional literacy, the ability to identify, process, and communicate your feelings without making them someone else's responsibility. It requires learning to give without expectation of return. It demands developing conflict resolution skills that don't rely on manipulation, domination, or capitulation. During this time, examine your previous relationships or interactions with brutal honesty. What patterns emerge? What wounds do you bring to the table? What unrealistic expectations have you placed on others? This inventory, while uncomfortable, is infinitely easier to conduct alone than in the heat of relationship. Prepare yourself financially, not to impress others, but to remove unnecessary stress from future connections. Prepare yourself physically, not for superficial attraction, but for the energy and vitality that passionate living requires. Prepare yourself intellectually so you can engage deeply with a partner's mind as well as their heart. Most crucially, prepare yourself to be whole rather than half. The concept of finding your other half is romantic poison. Great relationships are not two halves making a whole. They're two wholes creating something greater than the sum of their parts. Use this time to become so complete in yourself that a relationship becomes an option rather than a necessity. Develop the kind of life that would remain fulfilling even if partnership never materializes. This is not pessimism, it's the paradoxical path to the deepest connection. The prepared man doesn't fear solitude because he knows how to use it. He doesn't rush into relationships because he understands their true cost and value. He doesn't need rescue because he's already saved himself. The journey we've explored today reveals a counterintuitive truth. The time without a girlfriend is not a problem to be solved, but an opportunity to be seized. It is not a waiting room for your real life, but a forge where your best self is created. Society has taught us to see romantic relationship as achievement and solitude as failure. I'm offering you a different perspective, that your current state is not a reflection of your worth, but a rare window for transformation that most men waste chasing temporary validation. The 6 principles we've discussed, self-mastery, freedom as growth catalyst, building inner wealth, rejecting external validation, living with purpose, and preparing for meaningful connection, form not just a philosophy for the single man, but a foundation for extraordinary living regardless of relationship status. Remember that your value is not determined by who chooses you, but by who you choose to become. That your worth is not reflected in another's eyes, but in the integrity of your actions. That your power comes not from who you can attract, but from what you can create. Use this time. Invest it. Honor it. The depth of your next relationship or the richness of your continued solitude will be directly proportional to how wisely you use this period of preparation. When you transform your perspective from "I need a girlfriend to be complete" to "I am becoming the kind of man who brings completeness to any relationship," everything changes. Not just your romantic prospects, but your entire experience of life. Your solitude is not a sentence. It's preparation for greatness. The question is not when it will end, but what you will do with it while it lasts. Thank you for giving me your attention today, the most valuable currency in our distracted world. If something I've said resonates with you, don't just nod in agreement. Take action. Real change happens not in moments of inspiration, but in moments of decision. This is not just about becoming attractive to others. It's about becoming the kind of man you would respect if you met yourself. The kind of man who creates impact whether anyone is watching or not. The kind of man who transforms solitude from a condition to escape into a power to be harnessed. The world doesn't need more desperate men seeking validation. It needs more complete men offering value. Be that man, your future self, and yes, perhaps your future partner will thank you for it.